So, I just wanted to talk about some random shit for a bit again, which is why this is going into the podcast playlist. About this time, it's going to be the current season of Fortnite, Chapter 7, Season 2. Now, granted, my opinions may very well change, but as of right now, I think that Chapter 7 Season 2 is definitely top 10 seasons of all time. I don't think quite top 5 yet, maybe top 7, but it truly is an incredible season, at least in my opinion. And most of that comes down to just the sheer balance that everything has. It doesn't feel like much is broken, especially after the nerf that they gave to the what's it called? The Chaos Reloader shotgun, which even before its nerf, yes, it was absolutely broken, but at the same time, it was less one of the weapons that was so broken to where it was just completely exhausting, and every time you killed someone, you didn't even feel like you felt like shit because you didn't feel you earned it, but rather it was one of those weapons where yeah, it was broken, but it at least was fun to use. Not like the mechs, not like the UFOs, not like the cars or the Magneto gauntlets in Chapter 5, Season 3. So, that was already looking really good, and now that that has been nerfed, the season has been made even more balanced than it already started off as. Next, other than that, I feel like this is the only real season so far where we've had every secondary option feel actually legitimately really good and viable in a meta, because you have obviously the shotguns, then the secondary options are going to be the pistol, the twin mag SMG, the Thunderburst SMG, the Nemesis AR, the Combat AR, and the DMR. All of those are really good options. They each have their different roles, and none of them feel like they're truly useless. Yeah, some of them may be slightly outclassed, like the twin mag SMG and the pistol kind of being outclassed by the Thunderburst, but a lot of people also just generally don't like burst weapons, or they like the 2 times headshot multiplier of the pistol, or the faster fire rate of the twin mag while still keeping up a bit more damage at long ranges. And that is what a meta should be. Yes, you're always going to have the shotgun and then ranged item, a little duality in any season, but Chapter 7 Season 2 has some of the best balance we have seen from it, and it made it to where, thankfully, with the scope weapon, they did it really well because it's not a scoped AR that's broken as hell before the projectile drop off. They made it a DMR. It doesn't have a crazy high fire rate. It doesn't have insane one-shot headshot capabilities that a normal sniper would. So they were able to balance it by letting it stay a DMR without being a sniper, so they could make it hit scan for the first 100 meters, then projectile for anything after that. And I honestly think that that's a really good decision. I'm glad that they started that last season with the red dot ARs. I'm glad that they continued it this season with the DMR, because it's just a really well made balancing decision for items with a scope like that. And none of the secondary options feel bad. Every item, or sorry, every gun other than the twin hammers feels usable. It feels good to use. It feels fluid. It doesn't truly feel like there's no chance of winning any fight if you go in with even footing, even if you should always only rush if you have an advantage of some sort. But it doesn't truly feel like any fight is unwinnable unless it's like immediately off spawn, you get a DMR, they get a shotgun, and it's close quarters. But that, at the same time, that's just drop luck. Then, even outside of that, let's take a look at some of the heals. Obviously, minis and half pots, they're going to be the same throughout every season. but the Chug Jugs are still in the game. They're a bit more common than last season, if I remember properly from how common they were last season. We have the Chug Splashes back, always some of the best heals. We have the slap pizza slices, which are a really interesting idea. And honestly, I'm not really sure how I feel about them. They are really strong, but I don't know whether or not I would say if they are too strong. I've used them a lot. They don't feel completely overwhelming, but then again, I've never went up against someone who was using them themselves. I've only used them in my fights, and oftentimes it has gotten me oftentimes it has gotten my health high enough to where I don't have to worry about being at a disadvantage by the time my opponent gets to me, which is a bit broken. So honestly, it may need a slight nerf, but I don't think it would need too much of one. Then the Flowberry Fizz grenades are they're one of my favorite healing items, just like the Men Miss grenades were last chapter. Fortnite has always had, other than like the gold slurps, they've had a history of making mostly incredibly balanced healing items, and they've just continued that, they've continued that into recent chapters, as what I should be saying. Then we get to the mobility, a part of the season which can either make or break it for many people. And honestly, I feel that it's really good. Now, a lot of people are upset that shockwaves aren't there, and here's my thoughts on it. I think shockwaves are amazing for pubs. In a competitive meta, or at least a builds competitive meta, shockwaves should not exist, because the ability to break through several layers of builds, not only is it pretty broken in the fact that it allows for a lot of strategies which don't have any real counterplay, but also the fact that it causes a ton of server and lag issues throughout a game. It's just unbalanced for builds comp. However, you don't have that issue in public matches or in zero builds because, frankly, it's easy to hit if they're just flying through the air and not firing themselves into someone else's box. There's not enough structures being destroyed to cause any real lag issues and anything other than, well, comp builds. But I definitely understand why they took it out, especially in favor of the overdrive grenades, which are a much more balanced form of mobility that have an extra perk that I do enjoy with the temporary, or I shouldn't say temporary infinite stamina, but your stamina bar doesn't run down for a few seconds and then it'll go down as normal. Would be the best way to describe it. And it doesn't feel too strong at all, even in builds, because the overdrive grenades, when they give you the shock effect, unlike the shockwaves, the overdrive grenades don't make you break through builds when you're being launched, which is huge. It's made competitive the most fun it's been to watch in a long time, and that honestly is always a decent part of enjoyment for a season, as even though I am more of a casual player, I lean more towards the casual competitive side instead of the hardcore casual side. And it's just been really enjoyable. The gauntlets only having 20 uses, unlike the Nitro Fist from Chapter 5, Season 3, is an incredible decision that makes it to where they aren't nearly as strong, especially not to the level of being overpowered that the Nitro Fists were when they were in the game. It's been super enjoyable. The only mobility item that I do have a small complaint about is the zipline one, because let me get this straight, it's fun to use and it is a really cool idea, but it simply just gets outclassed by the gauntlets and by the overdrive grenades because it makes you so easy to hit. I have been able to take people from full health, full shield, full overshield, which 250 all the way around, to death because they want to use a zip line to move around. And it just, I think that a lot of it could be solved if Epic buffed it a bit to where, like, maybe you get some extra movement speed on it. Because as is right now, it is just way too easy to hit someone using the zip line, which sucks because it's the whole, like, it's the original mobility of the meta instead of being recycled mobility with a bit of a twist. And does it suck that it isn't the greatest? Yeah, but at least Epic's trying, and it's not like the rest of the mobility is so terrible to where we're in a no mobility season. It overall really enjoyable, from weapons to heals to mobility. It doesn't feel like the season is truly missing anything major. And yeah, it sucks that Epic is intentionally giving the foundation boost to help the foundation team win when they haven't done the same for the Ice King team. But at the same time, like, The Rock does have his contract where he's not allowed to lose any on-screen fights, and he does play the foundation. So I wouldn't be shocked if that is going into Fortnite as well, and not just the movie contracts. So Epic is trying to make him not lose that. But one thing that I do want to add at the end here, because I want to talk about the Epic situation as well, and not only talk about the incredible season that we have right now. Because the current situation with Epic Games is truly, really upsetting. Having over 1,000 employees being laid off after bragging just a year prior or so about spending multiple billions of dollars that you couldn't, or that were above your budget simply because you could afford to do so, is a really scummy thing. Not only are you spending above your budget, but a lot of the reason why Epic had to fire over 1,000 employees was because of the fact that they keep trying to do these massive collaborations with big artists and creators, and it just doesn't end up working out well. They don't get the return that they expect because people just don't see collaborations the same way anymore in Fortnite. Okay, it was cool the first couple of times. Oh, Marshmallow was there. That got a big hit. Okay, why not try it again? Oh, John Wick in Season 9, since we have the Reaper skin that people used to call John Wick. Okay, haha. Oh, Marvel skins in Chapter 1, Season 8 because of the whole in-game LTM. Oh, how about a whole Marvel season in Chapter 2, Season 4? That way we get a battle pass with that. And it just kept going and going, and people are exhausted of the collabs. It doesn't bring in much money. Yeah, Epic is so insistent on continuing to drive more and more to try to suck as much money as they can. And even then, not only do they do that, but they also increase the prices on the V-Bucks, which, after the whole Apple lawsuit, Epic has 100% profit margin on the V-Bucks. They were already making every single cent that you paid. It wasn't going partially to another company. It was just going to Epic, and they still increased it. Just, Epic is really dropping the ball as a company right now, despite the admittedly great state that this season of Fortnite is in. And it really sucks to see two completely different sides of the situation, because this season is amazing. This season is absolutely incredible. It's one of the best that Fortnite has had, but Epic is making some really shitty decisions. They're really showing their ass with how much bragging they've done in the past and how much it's catching up to them right now. And I really hope that all the people who got laid off are able to find other employment quickly, because that could be so many people who end up homeless because Epic fired them. So, if you want the TLDR, it's basically This season of Fortnite is incredible. Epic needs to be or stop being such a shitty company. Thank you for watching. See you next time.